We'll let people trickle in for a few minutes. We are going to be looking at all of Balaam today. Well, we're going to be looking at Balaam today. There's a primary part that we're going to try and look at, and if we get through all of the rest of it, that's fine, but there's a main theme and concept that we do want to hit. So before we begin, I'll open us up in prayer. Lord, thank you for this morning and friends and family to gather together to give glory to you, to hear your word, to accept your peace, your joy, and your hope that you give to us. Lord, fill our spirit. Let your presence just shine in this place this morning. Guide our discussion as you study your word and see what you want us to learn. See who you are, your promises, your hope, and your wisdom you want us to apply. In Jesus' name, amen. So this morning we are looking at Numbers 22 is where we're starting. It's Balaam. Now, I've questioned myself if I should do this or not, but it's been this way really probably since looking at Balaam. And I was out with some friends yesterday morning, and I was talking with somebody who's a minister, and I asked him, have you ever given a message or a study over Balaam? And he said no, and we had a little discussion. So when I say Balaam, what do you think? What do you think? Donkey. Now, does anybody hear the word donkey a certain way in their head? You hear hee-haw? So it's probably my generation then. Is when I hear somebody say the word donkey, I think Shrek. Every time I hear okay, you do too. Every time I hear donkey, I go donkey. Like that's what is in my mind. So I was telling my friend yesterday, I swear it's going to come out, and when I'm dealing with the lesson, is I'm going to hear Shrek in my head, and I'm just going to say it out loud. So please,
Are you 12 or something?
in my mind, I still am, yes. So I hear it constantly. So that's what people hear of. And the interesting part is the donkey of Balaam is just a small portion of the story of Balaam. We all learn and we just know Balaam as the donkey. Okay, the donkey spoke to him. But there's so much more to it. And so we're going to kind of really examine the more part. We're going to look at the donkey part of it as well. As I said, we're going to have a primary focus of 22 through 24, but we're going to get through what we can, which is really just the main idea. The main idea I want us to look at is compromising our faith. I think there's something to that idea with Balaam and what we can take away from what he did. So where we're at right now, and if you look at Numbers 22, if you want the digital copy, you can scan that. The paper copies are out there. But right now, we are at around 38 years of traveling in the wilderness. That's where they're at in this journey. So that means most, if not all, of the older generation, the ones who said that they were not going to go in the promised land, most of them have passed. And so they are in the plains outside of, plains of Jordan, across from it. They are settling down there. They are getting ready to enter the promised land soon. So we're starting to see it finally come into fulfillment. They have had battles against other armies or other tribes, and so you can see in 21, there's a lot of victories that they had against other people. So you can see God is with them. And so right now we see, and it's important to understand where we're at in the story, is God is with the Israelites right now, preparing them to go into the promised land. You can see it with the victories leading up to it. Now they're on the outside of it, something's about to happen. So we're going to look at, and keep in mind, God's with them. And we have the first part, Balaam is going to be summoned. And he gets summoned for this first time. So Balak, who is the king of Moab, is very, very nervous about the Israelites. He sees them outside of his land. He sees their size, and he's heard all of their victories. And he is afraid that they're going to come in, and they're going to take all of their land, all of their food. They're going to overpower them. And so he says, the horde is going to lick up everything around us as an ox licks up the grass of the field. So Balak fears what's going to happen to him. And so I have the question is, was this fear justified?
Yes,
Why do you say yes?
because they've heard what's happened and now they've been victorious.
He's heard what's happened, and so now they're going to be victorious?
Well, and then they've probably known about how long they've been wandering around, and that takes up all the resources where they're at. That's a huge crowd of people.
Yeah, there's a fear there. So from Balak's mindset, it's very easy to see why he's afraid. These people have been traveling, and you've heard victory after victory now after victory. They have all these people, all these animals. How about from God's standpoint?
Israel was not allowed to take the land of the Ammonites, the Moabites, and the Edomites.
So from God's standpoint, was Balak's fear justified?
No.
No. So you could tell right now that Balak does not really know God. And it was in Deuteronomy, if you look at the handout, it says Deuteronomy 2:9. It talks about what was just mentioned by John, is they were told not to go do it. So that fear is a human fear. A fear of somebody who does not know God, who does not know what he is trying to do. And we face that stuff going on. So Balak sent out for Balaam. And if you look at the words he used in verses 5, the end of 5 to 6, it says, Balak said, a people has come out of Egypt, they cover the face of the land and have settled next to me. Now come, put a curse on these people, because they are too powerful for me. Perhaps then I will be able to defeat them and drive them out of the land, for I know that whoever you bless is blessed, whoever you curse is cursed. So how do we know Balak did not know God based off of this? Or we would, in our generation, we'd say they're more worldly and they don't know Christ. Same
I
idea.
thought Balaam had the power to do these things.
He gave the credit to Balaam. Whoever you bless is blessed, whoever you curse is cursed.
Balak is operating from a pagan point of view. He's making an economic transaction here. So he's trying to buy favor from some god somewhere that will hopefully be more powerful than the God of Israel, because from a pagan perspective, you got to respect that the God of Israel has conquered all of these people. And looking at the map, they're in the target, they're in the line of fire. And so for him, you make the right sacrifice, you make the right offering, you do all of these things, and you obligate some God somewhere to help you in this fight.
Yeah. And we do see the financial aspect trying to play a role more and more when he ups the ante on what he's doing. Anybody else? I got stuck on the part that says, anyone you bless is blessed, anyone you curse is cursed. Because does that sound familiar at all? With anyone who's blessed is blessed, anyone you curse is cursed. Yeah.
Was Balaam in my one Bible at home, in the notes it said that Balaam was a sorcerer, but here they're talking about, they're saying there's a known prophet. So God is going to work through Balaam, we know, but for Balak to use him, he's looking at him as a sorcerer, isn't he?
He's looking at him as so Balaam would be a false prophet.
A false prophet.
But it's a weird situation, because though he is a false prophet, he will go to other gods. Like we'll get into, like, it's a financial thing. go to whichever gods. He is still used as a prophet from God.
Okay.
For me, it's a weird thing of he's not a firm believer of God as being the only God. There's other gods he would go to, but he is he is used by God for the blessings, for everything. So a false prophet that's used by God, but it sounds weird.
Yeah.
But this is actually even a discussion point where we might not get through everything is, how often do we see somebody who is not a Christian or not a believer or not in the New Testament even, who is used by God for his purpose?
Several times.
Several.
You see it with Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar was used by God. So the Pharaoh was used by. So we do. That's how I'm looking at Balaam from this lesson. Is there's moments where you see God using somebody who would, for not the purpose that Balaam thought he was there for. So I related to those.
It later says that Israel slaughters him and it says who practiced divination. So he's killed by Israel.
Yes. And we're going to get to even what happens, why I say false prophet too, is because the next chapter we see what happens, and we see it in Peter and Jude and Revelation, how they talk about him.
Oh.
So he is brought up, I think, around 8 total times in the Bible, and we see that there's issues with how he teaches or advice that he gives. But yeah, they end up killing him. So because of what he was doing. But when Balak gives this blessing, blessed are those you bless and cursed are those you curse, he gives credit to who? Balaam himself. So he's kind of like trying to butter him up and go through it. It's like John says, a financial thing as it's going on. But he goes through and he wants to butter him up and go through. Also, when he summons him, what is he trying to do? If you listen to what he says, people have come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the land. He says that he fears that they're going to lick up everything around us. He is trying to create a threat against him in the mind of Balaam. These people are coming against me. We know that God said, as John said in Deuteronomy 2:9, that they're not to go to war with them. But he's putting this fear of, look, I'm the victim. These people are outside my land. I'm fearful for it. You need to come out here. They're going to do this to me. They're going to do this to me. They're going to do this to me. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of, I'm the victim in this. There's a threat against me when there's no threat right now. He perceives it, but there wasn't. He's creating his own, he's creating his drama and treating it as if it were real at that point to win over Balaam. So how does Balaam respond? He's summoned. They send out for him. How does he respond? What does he tell them?
You can't go.
First, he tells them to do what? Stay the night. Stay the night. I'm going to go to seek out God, and I'm going to find out what I'm allowed to do. So they brought their divination fee. They told him the request. Balaam tells him to spend the night, and he'll seek the answer from God. And then God tells Balaam what?
Don't go.
Don't go. God said, do not go with them. You must not put a curse on those people because they are blessed. Which I find interesting, seeing blessed are those you bless, cursed are those you curse, as God's using those words as they are the ones who are blessed. So there's 2 commands. 2 commands given to Balaam. What are they?
Don't go.
Don't put a curse on them.
Don't go, don't put a curse. Okay, what does Balaam tell the people though? Does he say, I can't go with you and I am unable to curse them?
He says the Lord's refused to let me go.
God refused to let him go. That is what Balaam tells them. So my question is, how does Balaam's response relate to what he was commanded? The officials go there telling him this. What does Balaam actually tell the officials in return when he says, I can't go? How do the 2 sound different? The command versus the response.
Well, he doesn't tell them that God said don't curse them, so that would have alleviated the issue of that they are coming after the people, that, the king. so he would have alleviated part of that issue in his mind.
Yeah, Balak wanted Balaam to come and curse the Israelites. Balaam did not say, I am unable to curse them. They are blessed. He did not in any way address what Balak really was sending them for.
But he's not gonna make any money if he says that, it's over.
So he's
strung him along, that's what I think anyway.
Which is going to the compromising faith is, if you look at, this is the first part I see with compromising faith is, he is told 2 commands. Don't go with them. Don't put a curse on them. So he has a command from God, but when he responds to the command, what does he do?
He only tells part of it.
We only tell part. We only use the part we want. That's what Balaam's doing right now. He is only using the part of the command that he wants to use. Why? Probably some selfish motivation. He probably still wants the money, trying to hopefully leave that door open in some way. He doesn't follow God's words completely. So you start to see the compromising of, I say, false prophet, for us, a compromising of faith occurring. You start to see, we are told, and then think about us, we are told certain things to do in our life. And when we start taking a little piece from the world and sliding it over to make it fit somehow, we slowly start compromising our faith. And we're going to see what happens the longer and longer that goes. Any comments?
It was a short-sighted response on his part with the thought, if he thought he was gonna get more fees, if he would have told them, look, God's told me I can't curse these people, or I can't put a curse because you guys are blessed, that's the whole thing.
Yep.
Then it would have been, well, then they would have maybe had more ideas of, in the future, well, we gotta go to Balaam because he does have this connection to God, so we can get more. So he was kind of cutting off his nose to spite his face.
He will be, yeah.
Yeah, in both ways.
But if we end right here, that's my question right now. If we end right here, they came to Balaam. Balaam said, no, I cannot, God forbade me to go. If we end right there, what do we think of Balaam? As a follower of God, or as somebody who would do what God commands. He's a pretty good person at that point. So at this point, you go, pretty good person.
Would you think that he's letting them think that God's keeping him there to protect him so he's not over there with them?
No, I think of it as,
I mean,
I think of it as him just hearing what God said, compromising a little bit, and I think something's, he knows he still wants that door open.
yeah, but I'm thinking the other people are gonna sit there, well, if God's saying don't come, that means we're screwed.
Well, we see that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go back and give him more money. So if we stop right now, I think Balaam's not that bad of a person. God said don't go, doesn't go. Bethany?
I've always struggled with Balaam and wondering though, God speaks to him, and yet at no point after this experience, this God experience, does he turn to the Lord, because we know his end is pretty bad. Rahab goes to the Israelites. She turns. So there are people in the world that can directly experience God, and it doesn't shape or turn them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the comment before. You have Pharaoh, we named off some of the people, Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar, they experience God. But who do they give the glory to? Not God.
Well, Balaam does say, talks of the Lord my God when he talks to him a few verses later.
I view that as a sign of respect to, I say, a God, his word, a God who he is trying to get something from. As John's saying, there's pagan beliefs in multiple gods. I view that as him at that point going, I'm going to put him up high, but I don't view him as the only God. But that's
right. That one kind of puzzled me for a while.
Yeah. So what happens is he sends them off, and they go back to Balak, and Balak goes, nope, I'm going to send more people out. I'm going to send more prestigious people out. And those prestigious people are going to give you more money. And I'm going to give you honor and I'm going to give you glory if you come and you do this with me. So Balak ups the ante. He's saying, I'm going to give you more stuff. And I'm going to lift you up higher. I'm going to pay you more. He does say this, though. And this is what I found interesting is Balak's response is, Balak told Balaam to not let anything hold him back. What held Balaam back?
Not cursing.
God. God told him, do not go. And even Balaam said, God told me I cannot go with you. Balak's response is, don't let anything hold you back. So Balak's really telling Balaam to do what? Ignore God. It's again, you start to see, he's not saying, Balak didn't go to Balaam and say, Balaam, ignore what God told you to do and come to me. They're using a language, you're going to see language used to go against God. And we're not going to realize, based off the words used, the word choices, that that's really what's asking us to do is compromise our faith. And he's really saying, hey, don't let anything hold you back. Really, he's saying, don't listen to God. So certain words in our we hear are going to slowly start eating away if we don't put them in perspective. So, yeah.
I was just thinking Balaam's no different than Eve.
Then who?
Than Eve.
Certain word, yeah. Temptations will go through.
Yeah, that was language used.
More a house full of gold. So Balaam says, hey, you can give me a house full of gold and silver, and I still can't go with you. So he tells them, I still can't go no matter how much money you give me. Sounds good. Sounds like Balaam's still a good person at this point where, hey, God told me not to go. I don't care how much money you're going to give me. I'm not going to compromise my faith in that sense. I'm still not going to go. But then what does he do? Does he send them away? He goes, stay the night. I'm going to go to God and see what he says. What did God say? Before, what did God tell him? Don't go. Don't curse those people. They come back out. They offer more money, more prestige, more honor, more glory for Balaam. They're really trying to reach out to what for him?
The right answer, the answer they want.
The answer they want. What are they? How are they trying to manipulate Balaam? They're reaching towards
They're just trying to bribe him.
bribe him. His internal desires, his human nature, not godly nature in us, but his human nature. I want more money. I want more pride. I want a higher position. They're reaching and trying to get him to go into greed, go into any of these non-spiritual desires that we have to motivate him. Again, you start to see compromising of faith occur. Because when they do that, he doesn't say, I said no, go back, I can't go with you. He says,
Let me check.
let me check again. And so really what you see here is we start to ignore previous signs that God has given us, previous advice that we start to ignore and start to turn into what we want. Yeah, he goes, let me go check again, just in case God changes his mind. So we see greed. We see human desire. We see an action that we want more for this life than the other life. So God told Balaam, you can go, but you must speak the words that I tell you. This is a hard part. Don't go. Don't curse these people. They are blessed. Now God's saying, go ahead and go. What is God doing?
Well, God knew this was all going to happen. I'm convinced of that, but he wanted to delay for some reason.
You think he wanted to delay for some reason?
Yeah, I mean, God could see the future and exactly what was going to happen.
Okay. John?
I think God wants to let him go, but he wants to make sure he's properly motivated to do what God tells him to do when he arrives at his destination. And I think that this is one of those situations that even though Balaam is being disobedient, God's going to use it for his own purpose.
That's a big, and I like what you said, the way you phrased it. Even though Balaam is being disobedient, God's going to use it for his own purpose. Think on that phrasing, because that's really the point. It's hard because people go, well, he changed his mind. God told him to go and go. Balaam was keep pushing, and so God's using his disobedience to teach him. We see that often. When you read some of the stories of the Bible, you see disobedience of people being used to teach a lesson from God. God allowing them to go their direction, to hopefully learn something, and maybe turn and go back. And let's relate to it.
Like Jonah.
Like Jonah. Just
Someone else?
no.
I mean-
I was asking you to elaborate.
Oh, Jonah ran away. I tried real hard to not do what God wanted. And he couldn't disobey. God came after him. And he ended up in a whale or a giant fish. So he ended up preaching to Nineveh anyway, to the enemies that he wanted to go down. They all got saved and repented from what God was going to bring on them.
Yeah, so the story of Jonah goes through it. What about us?
Does that too.
There's moments we give into disobedience. We have our own desires. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go do this. I know God has told me things to do before. I'm going to start ignoring them, and I want my desires. Does God put up a wall and say, no, you can't do that? Not necessarily. Maybe times. There are times where he lets us go. Why?
I say that, I tell people that God doesn't want robots. He lets us have free will.
So we
but
can
he
learn.
lets us face the consequences of our will
Yep.
and teaches us.
That's
Same.
what I was gonna say. It's the beauty of free will, but it's also the danger.
It's the beauty of free will and the danger. We see that happening. So we have the same ideas right now is God will let us, and I say remove his hand from stopping us going the direction going, okay, you've been disobedient, you're trying to continue to go this way, I've given you signs, I've warned you, I'm going to let you go this way. So you can experience and learn, and for us, hopefully grow and change and realize I made a mistake. So more money was offered, by the way. So we do see there's a motivation for that. Psalm 81:12 says, so I gave them up to their stubborn hearts to follow their own devices. We are even told that God does give up people to their own hearts to allow them to follow their devices. And there's a point to it. It's hopefully for them to see and for something to be glorified by God through a change. So Balaam goes the next morning. He heads out and goes. And this is where, again, I had to stop myself because I almost went, donkey. This is where the donkey comes in. That is in my head every second of this. He goes. And when he's on the journey, an angel of the Lord that Balaam cannot see, but the donkey can, blocks the path that they're on, blocks the road, causes the donkey to go and veer off into the field. What does Balaam do?
He beats her.
Okay, then what else does Balaam do? We always focus on Balaam beats the donkey. What else does he do?
Got her back on the path.
Got her back or found a different route and said, I'm still going. So again, we see a warning from God. I do not want you going.